Hauser. It was 46 years ago tonight. The worst nightclub tragedy happened in the tri-state.
It's also one of the deadliest fires in all of American history. 165 people died in the Beverly Hills Supper Club fire. More than 200 were injured in that fire. Faulty aluminum wiring caused it. Families spent days searching for loved ones as the site still smoldered.
And for years, the families of those victims fought to get a permanent memorial, and now they have one.
Yes, they do. Local 12's Christian Hauser shows us the monument unveiled earlier today in Southgate.
I'm standing next to one of the monuments, and I'm about 6'2", and you can see that this thing is several inches taller than I am, and there's two of them. Now, these monuments are surrounded by a semicircle with individual headstones with the name of each victim who died in that fire. Now, more than 100 people came out to see the new monuments, from friends and family of those victims to firefighters and law enforcement. It was standing room only at the event. Now, when the fire happened, it's said nearly everyone in northern Kentucky knew at least someone who passed away. Now, it's hoped that this permanent memorial can bring them and the community closure to the tragic event. More than 100 people showed up to see the memorial. This is the first permanent memorial for the families. A makeshift one has overlooked I-471 for years, and in 2007, this historical placard was placed next to the road.
We hope that's going to be a sense of closure, comfort, find some peace, finally to have something dedicated for their loved ones, their friends, their family members, their co-workers that are here today. And finally, that's a place for them to come and actually reflect on really what took place and just remember them too as well.
Jennifer Cook's grandmother, Terry Lynn Rose, was one of the 165 people who died that night.
Her youngest son had just turned 2 when she passed. So it's been learning from my dad and his brother, it's been non-existent because they didn't really know anything. They don't really remember their mom.
Cook says her grandfather never really shared much about his wife or what happened.
He's been becoming more and more open here over the past few years, especially since normally he comes with me down here, but he didn't make it this year.
Cook's grandfather's been part of a group working to get a permanent memorial. She says he'll be excited to come down when there isn't a crowd.
I think he'll cry. I don't think he'll have much to say. I think he'll just tear up.
Everyone took turns taking pictures and finding their loved ones' names in the bricks. The double-sided memorial has the story of the tragedy, and it also honors all the first responders from that night. Southgate Mayor Hamburg hopes the memorial will allow folks to have closure and move on.
It's tough sometimes to admit that, to do that, but it is time for us to move on. We've had many of the victims' families tell us that at this point. A lot of the co-workers told us that, and friends too at the same time.
Now, this site is now a Southgate City Park, and whether you come during the day or at night, these monuments are always going to be well lit up. Now, this sits at the base of the hill where the Beverly Hills Supper Club once stood. That land is now being developed as a housing development. And if you've ever driven on I-471, you may have noticed a cross and small memorial that overlooked the highway. That stood for years until the land was sold to be redeveloped. In Southgate, I'm Christian Hauser.
The fire at the Beverly Hills Supper Club brought major changes to fire code and building safety requirements, including mandatory sprinkler systems, capacity limits, and outward opening doors that must be able to be opened from the inside. Those new requirements are credited with saving countless lives since that tragedy.